it's stories like that I miss reporting on.
I was planning on coming in and talking about slow news weeks, and like I still have a lot to say about slow news weeks.
Ooh,
Fuck.
That's a juicy story. Hello and welcome to The Industry is Doom. I'm Michaela Gorman.
I'm Blake Hunsley.
And we're discussing...
Flabbergasted.
Oh my god.
Just flabbergasted.
Disgusting a story that we had heard about and originally thought it was a different one.
Mm-hmm.
And in correcting ourselves and researching it, have discovered it is far, far worse than it started as.
Well, that's what is exciting about this, is not only does it qualify as a local story, just nationally anyway, because it's a Canadian story, but for once, America did it first, but Canada did it way
way
I
worse.
hesitate to say better, but definitely larger, and just...
Do it large.
Oh, man. Go big or go home. It should have gone home.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ooh,
So,
well, someone took something home.
an Ottawa fertility doctor...
Dr.
Barwin.
Norman.
Don't make it more creepy.
Norman!
Oh, fuck. Yeah, so he... Okay, so... What is it now? 11 people have been confirmed?
11 have come forward who believe that they're confirmed, but...
We should actually say what? They believe they're
confirmed.
confirmed to be
Oh, yes.
fertility doctor Norman Barwin's alleged children. I love that they keep using the term they're alleged siblings.
Alleged siblings, and they look
so
just
cute.
like each other.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's great.
So,
But it's not.
possibly going back as far as the 70s, this doctor has been switching, allegedly, his own spank bank yank for, well, people that he is supposed to use as donors, which is like through a program that keeps you anonymous but can be tracked and makes sure that you're safe and there's no genetic disorders there that they're aware of, and there's a whole host of things. Essentially,
and presumably you would, like, you know, do the cliche TV thing where you pick, like, at least qualifications from like, a little brochure. I like to think of it as like just picking through a magazine. Of just, like,
it's like, okay.
You know, glossy pinup photos of spank bank donors who I'm sure...
With their heads just cut off so you have no idea who they
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
It's like, here's their degrees, here's their general lineage, here's their
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a Welsh PhD student. Look at that curly hair and that twinkling smile. And, oh, by the way, there's a 60% chance your child is Ashkenazi Jew, despite you both being Protestants and choosing a Gentile Protestant, presumably,
Which is
on your form.
Yeah.
That came as a surprise to at least one couple.
That's actually apparently how he was found out. Is one of the kids applied for just one of those genealogy tests, and hey, she came back 60% Ashkenazi, and her parents are not.
If it was Dr. Norman Bates, I would be super concerned because of the name, but at least from the name I would think, well, he probably doesn't stand out genetically terribly in a way that would just go, whoops, that's not the donor we thought.
Well, no, and like, he kind of looks like early Doctor Who meets Ian McKellen, so he has this general sense of like, well, it's not him.
They certainly couldn't track this back in the Ashkenazi Jewish community in Canada. It's so huge. And just, how would you ever find any connection there?
I meant it more like, he doesn't look like the American that we read about. He had that look where it's just like, ew, you're as gross as the allegations against you. This guy looks like he should be doing Shakespeare, and you should just be like, yes, okay.
He looked like sad Ian McKellen.
Very sad Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, Ian McKellen.
Yeah, the Seed put up a photo of him 2 times, looking like sad Ian McKellen, and this is because it was up 2 times, and because they politely linked to it at the bottom of this story without really going into too much detail about what they really want you to read into it.
Yeah.
That he lost his Order of Canada back in 2013 because he mixed up donor DNA.
He admitted in an investigation, because people got kind of wise to it back in 2013, he cut the whole thing off by admitting, oh, I probably mixed up some of those sperm samples. I don't know who it's from. And now, 5 years later.
Yeah. Oopsie daisy, profession ruining negligence, and I
was-
publicly lose. I become one of, 6 people who've lost my Order of Canada?
Yeah, one of 6 people. The other including, like, pretty much just sexual predators.
Who's gonna look at that at the time and think, man, that's probably just a cover story for something even more distressing?
Well, anyone, anytime who stops like a proceeding to get like discovery in a lawsuit, the second they do it, it's just you did it. You did every single thing and probably more.
So, we just found the Ottawa Citizen has followed up on this story at large, just to give some numbers here.
Alright, well, actually, hold on. When you throw Dr. Barwin or Ottawa into Google, it throws up 2 stories immediately in the, like, you should read these. The first one says 11.
Yeah, the first one's, that's who they were interviewing on the Siege tonight. There was one of these. I believe, I can't recall if they were exactly confirmed, but allegedly confirmed.
Yeah.
One of 11 siblings.
One of 11 siblings that may become
That are all
a much larger
Barwins,
family.
allegedly. Yes, yeah, because the much larger family numbers. Well, the title on this Ottawa Citizen article is "Lawsuit Against Fertility Doctor Accused of Using Own Sperm Expands to 150 People Adversely Affected." Now, adversely affected, that could mean pretty much anything, but
you read deeper, and that number only slightly gets smaller.
oh man, yeah. So yeah, 50 people whose parents got treatment from this doctor and whose biological fathers are unknown. And then, 16 of those, this is the Ottawa Citizen reading here, were to be conceived using their father's sperm, but are not a biological match to their father. Like, okay, there's been some heavy talk here about, like, oh, it's ruined my dream family kind of thing. It's like, yeah, did it, it's still your kids, whatever. But then, like, we actually went in, both of us, and wanted to make a child together.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't biologically. And now this has happened.
Yeah, it's weirdly like what's that bird? No, it's a lizard, and it puts its eggs in with like a bird's clutch, and it just leaves, and the bird raises it until it gets until it hatches, and when it hatches, it eats all the other little bird eggs and shit, and leaves.
I'm surprised this bird ever reproduces.
Oh no, I think it just picks random birds of the same approximate size.
Mom, I've chosen not to have my eggs fertilized. Why can't you understand this?
It's a fear.
Aunt Sheila, Aunt Margaret, Uncle Ted, who was babysitting. Just
all eaten by lizards.
All eaten by lizard babies. So no lizard babies, but otherwise, this story is bananas.
This story is bananas, and those poor kids. Every time that they get a weird look from the parent from now on, it's just gonna be like, you're thinking this isn't my child. Yeah. What demon spawn is this?
Yeah. That's from the Barwin side of the family.
Well, that's
allegedly.
Just Barwin. That's just so Barwin of you.
That's your alleged side of the family coming out.
The alleged side of the family.
Oh man. So so there is some big news in the country this week.
Yeah,
I was hard pressed before this came on my drive home from work.
Which is more than I had. We are actually going to come here and talk about how sometimes you have nothing.
Listen, this is the largest municipality in Nova Scotia, and that still means virtually nothing in terms of things going on sometimes. Sometimes there's just a drought. Everyone's, you know what? It's cold. It's been dark for 2 months, and today it's raining. Everybody has stayed inside, and nothing has happened.
Yeah, no, it's true. What has occurred lately? We have more Matt Whitman news in terms of he just keeps trying to make people hate him.
Nope, don't care.
Exactly. That's it.
Don't wanna add to his name
No.
mentions that much. Not in I was told that Whoopi Goldberg will not say Donald Trump's name on The View, and that this is a source of contention. And 2 things happened here. I thought that was a weird stand to take, and I was really annoyed that someone made me know something about The View.
I think, I don't give any kinds of shit about The View, but I kind of if she's committed to doing it and she never drops it, kudos for her committal to be like, no.
Yeah, I feel that way.
Because we've all said it, but he's so fucking frustrating that eventually you end up going, ah!
I feel like at large on this show, we should just be free to occasionally say, you know what, let's not give them a mention. Let's not, because, like, psychologically somewhere, they know people. Donald Trump, tune in for segment 2, you'll know what we're talking about. You just, yeah.
Oh, that's true.
But, yeah, locally, the bigwigs, the big names, no one's... Man, people were still trying to bang the drum about Trudeau in India, and I'm just like, oh man, it's like a rerun of an old sitcom at this point.
It's true.
Who cares?
They've moved on since to the 3-week-old Neanderthal comment, which was a Liberal minister saying to Lisa Raitt, if you don't support this program, you're a Neanderthal. And it was like childcare. And it's like, yeah, seriously. You should support this program. If you don't, you're being so recidivist. And
are you saying someone in politics used inflammatory rhetoric?
And since then, Andrew Scheer has been saying like, liberals, so insulting, calling people Neanderthals, which is one of these funny things of like, Andrew, you just acknowledged evolution.
No. See, Harper light there. Harper with a smile, if you will, and I won't. No, nobody will. Oh my god,
Ew.
Captain of the Bland Squad, and it's just like, you're the most bland man in the Conservative Party, which makes me not interested in you, but it also makes me look around and go, oh, is there anyone interesting in the Conservative Party? And God knows there is, and you don't want them to be noticed.
No. Ontario's showing
you
what
needed
happens.
someone slightly shiny to take the attention off all the dings and dents in your party, Conservatives, and instead, you chose like, he's like the eyelashes you put on a car.
Yeah.
They're stupid and they look like nothing you really want to see, like, parked in your driveway.
Yeah.
And they don't add anything to the car. Instead you're like, oh, what a weird car.
Yeah, but you assume that the person who has them considers themselves to be perky and fun. So he considers himself within conservatism to be perky and fun.
I won't pretend to be super self-aware, but fuck.
Yeah.
That's just wrong.
He's the weirdest. He reminds me of this drawing I saw in Cracked magazine in like '91 of a man whose face was a butt. and that's it. I'm sorry. I studied political science and Canadian history in university. That man's face looks like a butt.
Now, we should point out that it's only because of his personality that he necessarily looks that much like a butt in our heads. Because, aesthetically speaking, he's not unattractive. He's not. I like to objectify men occasionally. I like to excuse it on, like, we're just giving back because, people have been objectifying women forever. But really, I'm just sassy and like to look at men. But Andrew Scheer, not so much.
No, there's nothing to look at there.
No, he's, I get it, it's fine. Like,
he's the sexiest potato in the
no one's going to kick him off their lawn because of the way he looks. It's because of the things he supports and the nonsense that comes out of his mouth. And basically just the boredom that ensues when he speaks.
Oh my god. Well, here's the thing, and apparently, I was reading a story today, it's in, what is it? The New Yorker or the New York Times or something. It's by Jesse Brown, and, the New York Times. And it's a story of, like, explaining Jordan Peterson to Americans. In the sense of like, so this guy seems un-Canadian, and it's like, no, he's this weird standard kind of Canadian that Andrew Scheer also represents. Of like, you're boring, you are unattractive, not necessarily because you don't give a shit about that kind of thing. You're uncharismatic, and the things you believe are kind of really dark and hateful.
Do you want to refresh our listeners for people who don't know Jordan Peterson?
Oh god, do I have to?
Well, it's not super veiled to... It's not, I'm not entirely just glossing over the fact that I don't like to read about him, so I've forgotten a lot about him lately.
So, Jesse Brown summed it up really well in that, and this is a paraphrasing, Jesse said that Jordan Peterson rose to fame because he misunderstood a law that was before the House of Parliament about gender identification. He thought it meant that he would, by law, have to acknowledge someone's pronouns. as in he would be arrested if he didn't.
You can't make that a law in Canada.
No, it's not. It's that, like, if...
Like, you could,
if
but it wouldn't survive, like, you know, anyone talking about constitutional challenges, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
No, what the law is that I can't be fired for showing up in makeup. It's protecting me as a trans person and all other trans people on the same basis of, like, you can't fire a woman for being a woman, you can't fire someone for being Catholic, you can't fire someone for being. You have to have legitimate reason. It was more or less that. It was just entrenching the rights of transgender people to be transgender people and still have the same rights.
See, this is the thing. If there was any sort of legal threat to this, any sort of...
Where'd that go?
It's right there. We're talking about wine.
That will happen since we both make wine.
Exactly. No, but if there were any sort of, you know, legal implications involved about the pronouns that a professor uses in a classroom, there would be so many people losing their goddamn minds about this from a free speech perspective. Like, and I'm aware that Canada does allow for much more kind of grey areas when it comes to freedom of speech than, you know, certain loudmouth neighbors to the south do.
Which is frustrating because we are the ones that actually do have hate crime speech laws.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
But it's kind of, you have to have a lawyer and a prosecutor who is willing to actually put in the enormous amount of effort and go through the incredible amount of political red tape.
I'm very conflicted about it as someone who's, like, you know, drastically impacted by someone screaming "kill all the gays," for example. Like, I think I still remain convinced that someone yelling that should purely be met with everybody else yelling back, "You are fucking lunatic, shut your mouth."
Yeah.
Like,
whereas I get tickled by the concept that if this had existed before, a tank, an APC, would have rolled up to Ernst Zundel's door and just gone right through it and over him. It's just, goodbye, asshole. Ernst Zundel, for those wondering, he's dead now, thankfully. And I don't think they'll...
It was a joke when he was alive, because
he was
no
a
one
hateful joke.
He was a very hateful joke.
He was a literal neo-Nazi.
Yeah.
He was a literal neo-Nazi, and they won't even say where his grave is because they know that it's just going to become a dance hall.
Ugh, yeah. No, and obviously I don't want to encourage that kind of shit, but I think nothing discourages that more than it. I like to think the vast majority of people in a civilized country greeting that vocally with disdain and feeling totally confident that you should tell someone to shut that shit up. Because, you know what? Free speech? Yes, of course. There shouldn't be legal sanctions about that shit. There should be social sanctions for sure. I have no problem with somebody even telling me to shut my goddamn mouth when I am, you know, possibly violating the social norm at the time. Like, that's a thing, but you don't make it a law.
And I can completely... It's one
Or
of
in
those...
Canada you do.
Yeah, oh, excuse me. I believe it's based on the, like, the logic of the law is based on the fire in a theater hypothetical.
Oh yeah, it's
Where
that
it's like,
taken to, like, some would argue taken to an unnecessary length, but...
You know, it's like, and if I recall, the only time it's ever been used, such as by Warren Kinsella and his wife Lisa. Hey guys, they follow me on Twitter. Hey guys, that's a
I
private...
don't follow you on Twitter, but it's nothing personal. Don't follow anyone on
You
Twitter.
don't has the Twitter.
I don't has the Twitter.
But they, I believe, went forward with a private prosecution, which is this really nifty fucking thing that you can do. Anyone can do in Canada, and it's the oldest form of English law. It's where you feel that a law has been broken, and you can't, like, for whatever reason, you can't get the cops involved. Like, they won't be involved. You don't have evidence to their belief. Like, for whatever reason, they won't get involved. So you're allowed to go and do all the sleuthing you can, take all of that information, go to a lawyer who will then put it before a judge. The lawyer isn't technically representing you, they're just kind of being an avenue to the judge. And the judge is allowed to say, yeah, there's something there. and then you provide your own legal prosecution of someone instead of the state.
Are you punished criminally or civilly?
Criminally. Because the judge is the one who then like decides, okay, yeah, that was valid. And instead of punishing the state for omitting justice, it just kind of allows people to, because that's how English justice began.
See, on the
You
one
and your
hand,
family got people together and you went, let's go fuck that asshole.
That's a gross family.
Yeah.
Okay,
We're
but on
talking
the-
Middle English.
Oh my god. On the one hand, though, that sounds, kind of awesome, like in terms of going forth and righting wrongs kind of thing.
Is an enormous amount of work. I've reported on people doing private prosecutions before, and they spend years studying, because it's always, it's never a lawyer, it's a layman. And
But
law
see, this is my
essential.
point. And see, this is my point. More to the fact that it's a layman and not a police officer, because chain of custody regulations and evidence preservation and all that shit exists for a reason.
Yes.
I understand that it's very rarely used and it's really super interesting because it is so rarely used and because a judge would have to give it such sincere thought. But I still don't know how I fucking feel about it.
There's a real thing.
It's weird.
On one hand, it is you need to invest time and money.
Well, there's another strike against it.
It's very expensive.
If you are super wealthy, then.
But there's the danger that you're absolutely alluding to, because if a company gets wind that they can simply en masse, instead of suing someone or threatening to sue them, present private prosecution after private prosecution, and simply because they don't have to spend a bunch of money on it. They have lawyers who are already on staff who would simply be using an active budget. It wouldn't cost them much because it's just basic legal fees that they're used to. And it would tie up the courts for years without having to go through the civil prosecution demands, which include the concept of vexation litigation. Which, for listeners, is intentionally suing someone to be a dick to them. And throughout the process of it, being as much of a dick in the process as possible. It's called bad faith bargaining, and it's essentially you say, I want $10,000, and they come back and say, fine, we'll give you $10,000, and you say, I want $20,000, and you kiss my ass.
Okay, you said it's called public prosecution?
Public prosecution.
Okay, the Canadian government, I believe, right now is looking for ways to unclog our court system because it's so backed up.
And that's why
Get the fuck rid of that shit! That's a place to start. It won't have a massive impact, but there are enough weird flaws in that could be exploited by the right/terribly wrong people.
They're actually
that nonsense.
putting it forward as they're making it known to Canadians as a way to go through the legal system to clear out the legal system by essentially saying, do it yourself, kind of.
I sincerely question that. That's weird. I can think of scenarios where you have. I can also think of scenarios on the other hand where you have people from marginalized groups that cops don't like to listen to. But those are generally not the people with the economic resources behind them to do this.
Absolutely, but
it's great in theory, but it sounds horrifying in practice.
Well, see, here's the thing. And this is my own accidental omission. The lawyer that you have to convince to go before the court is the Crown. So you're doing the Crown's work with no budget from the Crown. So it saves an enormous amount of money if they can just be handed a case to go, okay, thank you very much, we're just going to take this and go. It saves money.
I have many questions.
Yes, there are. That's why it's rare, because there are many outstanding questions.
That would be a big news week.
Yeah.
That would be a huge news week.
It already happened in Nova Scotia at least once this year. If I recall, they won. It was a minor thing over a busing zone.
Okay.
It's a very minor thing, but technically it was a criminal case.
Okay.
Because it involved custody of children at certain times during the day of a bus driver, making decisions.
Yeah.
So.
High drama, high stakes.
Yes, very rural Nova Scotia can be so dramatic. Well, I think
in rural Nova Scotia, that shit is high drama.
That shit is high drama. There are careers
when
broken
you know
by that
everybody.
story. Right?
Nothing is small stakes. Oh my god.
Oh my Jesus. The
Um,
things people have been ruined over in small towns that we know of and can never say.
For a small news week, we thought, we ended up talking some heavy news.
Well, that's the thing, is that the smallest news can be heavy. It can just be presented in a non-dramatic way.
And the biggest news can be so light, which segues nicely into me wanting to talk desperately about the story about that guy at the Fairmont. It was great. It was just such a perfectly crafted piece of nonsense that a Canadian audience would just eat up with a massive spoon. Just this local guy from here in Nova Scotia went out to visit, I believe, his brother, some family member, in Victoria, and took, like, I think it was a whole suitcase full of Brothers pepperoni. So there you've got your, like, local business name drop. So
Yeah.
An editor is already probably
Hi, Brothers
intrigued
Pepperoni.
by Hi Brothers pepperoni. You're delicious. Please sponsor us. So you have somebody smiling because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have someone at the Fairmont Hotel in Victoria who's smiling because of this article.
Yeah.
And then I believe this gentleman in this story was also a member of the forces, so a bunch of people are going to smile at that.
But not the forces. I tried once to interview a soldier as just a puff piece of, like, hey, you're a student and a soldier. What's that like?
The
forces said no.
A non-starter.
Oh my
Holy shit.
God, no.
Yeah, always no. Always
No.
and forever. No.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. But this guy, so he brought all this pepperoni out to Victoria for his brother. And this was like...
May I just say, this is the most goddamn Canadian thing ever, because if you are Canadian and have not at some point smuggled meat from one province to another...
What are you doing?
You
should be soul-searching because you're not a Canadian. No.
You're not in the community.
I don't want to know that person. But this was like 15 years ago or something? So there was no mini fridge in the hotel room with these pepperoni in, and this took place in April. And it was rather cold outside, so he just figured, fuck it, I gotta go out for a while, like it's gonna be a few hours. I'll just leave this pepperoni laying out on the windowsill because it's cold outside, just leave the window open. And so he came back, and of course, because this was Victoria, so it's... Dude, you're from Nova Scotia, you should know what living in a coastal city means when it comes to seagulls. And of course, a flock of seagulls destroyed his hotel room in a way that outstripped any hotel room ever destroyed, presumably by the band Flock of Seagulls. Like,
oh my God. Just
like broken lamps, shit everywhere. And he said it was fairly sedate when he walked in, but then of course he tried to get rid of the seagulls, and that's when, like, just feathers and feces. And he managed to get them all out. The last one he wrapped in a towel and threw out. So there was mention of a seagull projectile in this story, which made me quite happy. But then the best part about this was the very last thing he did, trying desperately to clean up this room, I believe, was he dropped the hairdryer into the sink and shorted out the electricity in this part of the hotel. It's like a perfect storm of seagull shit and bad luck and terrible decisions that ended with this guy being banned for, like, well over a decade from this Fairmont hotel.
And you know, it's just like, if you're on the street below, there's flecks of fucking peanut or pepperoni raining down on you and feathers.
But the best part of the story was he was very unhappy living with a band that they had written his employer, told the employer, like, you know, this dude is not welcome for life from this hotel. This is insane. Like that's sad.
That's an overstep. That's not cool.
Imagine what a flock of hungry, angry, and then pepperoni-filled seagulls would do to a hotel room, and then on top of that, you just can't help dropping a hairdryer into a sink. Like, no, it just a perfect storm. All bad, all the time. But then, now, he couldn't live with this, so he wrote an apology letter. So just, and he's now welcome at the Fairmont. And he, of course, went and stopped by reception and gave them some Brothers pepperoni.
Yep.
So we come back to the local business angle, but most Canadian of all, this entire story started with an apology.
Yeah, said sorry and they went, oh, okay.
Any reporter for a slow news week in this part of the world is just going to be salivating and also slightly ashamed to tell this story.
So here's the real question. When CBC got their hands on this story, did they send Brent Ruskin to Vancouver, or did they send him to stand in front of Brothers Pepperoni?
I almost feel like this was an Angelique Patil thing. I don't remember.
Ooh.
But yeah, well, I don't. What has Brent Ruskin? Has he offended someone? Like,
No, it's
he's the natural face for this story.
Well, exactly, and that's the thing. They will send him as far as money will send him to cover a story. It's incredible. They won't cover some things because it'll cost a dime. But if it means that Brent Ruskin can go to Australia,
is there any charm in this story? Ruskin,
is there a charm?
There is a little.
Is there a charm?
Oh,
is he okay?
Oh,
yeah.
Go for it. Spend the mother corporation's money. It's okay.
Yeah, it's totally okay because we know that you're not going to do something fucking offensive.
That wasn't a weird taxpayer complaint either. I will happily sit and watch and/or read that nonsense and just lap it up. It's always so entertaining.
Well, it's much better than the Andrew Cochran story that I covered a couple of years ago, where he ate $76,000 plus change worth of food that he charged to the CBC. That is above his salary. He just over 3 years ate $76,000 worth of food. I have never made $76,000 in a year to start with, let alone eaten $76,000 worth of food on someone else's behalf, aside from my parents, over like my lifetime.
You recouped that shit, presuming he gained a pile of weight by lavishing himself so much. You recouped that shit by turning his return to slenderness, or relatively slenderness, into a reality TV show, which you do not pay him for, but you reap the advertising benefits thereof.
I'm trying not to be as
CBC.
Big of a bitch in saying this, but based on how large he is, that series will last quite a while. Thank you.
Thigh rub burn.
Oh my god.
I feel like thigh rub burn is where I need to end the local segment.
That's a great place to do it. Play that fucking tune.
Theme tune.
So, welcome to the American section. I was just about to tell a story. I roomed in university with a Canadian who went to America, or lives in America and went to high school there. And they lived in Indiana, and they truly had stories that, like, you know, set my hair white. It truly was, like, terrifying. Like, from the weird way that he was in marching band, and you had two choices in high school if you wanted to avoid complete ostracization. You either joined a team for the school, or you were in marching band. Marching band includes cheerleader, but you either were
you were the spirit,
or you were a performer. Yeah.
or you were the sport.
Yeah.
This doesn't sound bad to me.
You had to do this regulated, almost militia level concentration.
You know what it's like to grow up in an underfunded school district, like having the option. We'll get to that caustic laugh, but having the option of joining band or even having music class would have been amazing.
We played rugby at my school because football equipment was too expensive.
We had neither football nor rugby.
Rugby doesn't require equipment except for a ball.
We had track and field. That requires you bring your own shorts and sneakers and you run around.
I joined the swim team
No, I'm kidding.
in my high school
Good.
for the simple fact it had the least number of people.
Swim
You had a fucking pool?
Yeah, what?
We had a 7-lane, half Olympic size pool with 3 diving boards and like a slide.
He's not even rich. This is just how you know when there's an Ontarian in the room.
No.
Hey,
It was a county. It was a county school.
Yeah.
It was subsidized, and it was also the community center.
Okay.
It wasn't ours.
I'm talking about an Ottawa school, or an Ontario school as well, 40 minutes outside of Ottawa. It was built in 1965, and in the basement that we were never allowed into was a pool that also doubled when covered as a shooting range. Not allowed into since like 1986, when I believe a kid died.
That's it. Not the kid dying, but just the story.
On two sides were cemeteries, so you would look outside your classroom and see the dead. On one side was just a field, and on the last side, a quarry, an enormous pit.
Our school, which went from grades 6 to 12, encompassing a total of 350 students, was built in 4 wings around a central quad. All of the internal classrooms all looked out over this central quad.
Ooh, that's painful.
Do you know what was in the central quad?
Nothing.
It was chain link fenced over at the junior high grade 6 entrance at its very farthest extent, and it wasn't even fucking mowed. It was just like hay, like shit grass, like nothing. Probably serpents. Like 15 minutes of like somebody choosing to give a shit could have changed that entire school's experience, but nope. No, it no longer exists.
See,
the new school built to replace it is sinking into the mines. Allegedly sinking into the mines.
There's no
But
allegedly
definitely
sinking.
sinking.
It's Nova Scotia,
Well,
New
it's
Brunswick.
sinking, but no one's legally blamed the mines.
For about the past 600 years. Everything's falling into the ground.
Speaking of, this is the America
save
segment. We should get out of Nova Scotia
Yes,
and head south to
Elfish shoving this down my throat. Wait a minute.
out of context.
Okay, so lost in the mire and storm.
Bye, intro guest star.
Bye, intro guest star. Lost in the mire and storm that is current America. It's this wonderful little story from the New York Times. Quote, from Thai jail, sex coaches say they want to trade U.S.-Russia secrets for safety.
Oh, I heard about that. They're like, what was the word they called the sex oligarchs.
Sex oligarchs or sex instructors from Belarus have been stuck in a Thai detention center for weeks. They say they have evidence demonstrating Russian intervention in the 2016 presidential election, and they want to exchange a plea with the FBI. And that is not story 1 or 20 or no. That is just more insanity. Of course it had. Of course, there are 2 people in a Thai jail who are what was the word you used?
Sex oligarchs.
Sex oligarchs who have information that could bring down the American presidency. Because that's where we are, and it doesn't matter. No one fucking cares.
Might I suggest an internet poll? Which country would you prefer to have your oligarch level rich paid for sex instructor originate from? Belarus obviously has to be option 1. So I have to ask
Romania's option 2.
Would you choose Belarus? I suppose out of at least Belarus and apparently Romania.
Romania, do you want that classic Ceausescu, or do you want the...
Oh no, I'd totally go with Belarus.
Yeah, they seem at least a little more interesting.
Yeah, that accent and that willingness to indulge brutality on the state level, like, yeah, I am there.
Can I say one aspect that is not detrimental to the current state of our southern neighbors?
Would you teleport back into this podcast somehow?
Oh, he came back from Fort Sumter! Alive at last!
I'm enjoying the...
Oh, you had to listen
clear
to our
coat.
other podcast to get that joke.
I'm enjoying the clear coat to the current southern country.
Oh, there's no window dressing at all. There's no,
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Everybody is seeing everything, and if you don't like it, it is right there.
There's no man behind the curtain this time. It's just Putin right there.
Yeah, and
then an orange curtain that dances around yelling all the time.
And everyone in America is just being really goddamn open about what they believe. It's like, yeah, that person thinks the KKK
it's
is
kind of
great.
refreshing. It's kind of like
okay,
refreshing
then.
in a way I
Fuck.
bet the introductory years of the Civil War were refreshing. Like, we always get back to the Civil War too.
It's kind of the
every
way that
podcast.
Bleeding Kansas was really refreshing.
Bleeding Kansas. Bloodletting was supposed to be healthy at one point, right? No.
My drinking game is every time the Civil War is referenced, I'm gonna be pretty drunk.
My thinking game is every time we reference the Civil War, I think of the Ashokan farewell every time. Thank you, Ken Burns. But back to not Civil War America.
Yeah, so, well, there's the
well,
problem.
I don't
Is,
know.
like, it's kind of hard to avoid that concept. Yeah, I keep thinking about, oh my god, why have I forgotten his name? Of course I have. Novelist, Vonnegut. The way that Vonnegut used to... I know, it's horrible. I have multiple copies of Slaughterhouse 5.
You're the better read one. You're the one that didn't get distracted by Ellen.
I know, and yes, but anyway, he has one of the things that appears constantly across his main novels is this concept that America will at some point within the 20th century break down into smaller nations. It's just something that seems to come up a lot, and it seems to be something that actually makes a lot of sense. The more
It's
you look at it.
regionalism.
Yeah. And America would probably function a lot more peacefully if it was just regional, instead of trying to get these people to cooperate with each other, because they have too large a population in too culturally specific an area, and dispersed an area. You can't convince someone from
And
Texas.
that's
Say sheep from Canada.
No, but
Oh, yeah, but like, the difference is the amount of people. We have this one line, essentially, where the vast majority of Canada exists.
We're like elite level regionalists.
I know, but that stuff is
But
despised.
we embrace our
Thank God for our
regionalism.
theoretical, like,
No,
European Union style
We
confederation.
embrace our regionalism without
Here.
ostracizing other people. Hopefully, I feel like the
What, Canada?
yeah.
We try.
We try.
We try.
Yeah, God bless us.
But I
Yeah.
feel the premise
Bless
of
our hearts.
America is vast differences with people yelling loud enough, and the people who yell the most get what they want.
Well, I think that's
Is that
I think the
untrue?
melting pot is the problem there, because the melting pot becomes, instead of an amalgamation of people, it becomes the loudest person.
Can I tell you something great?
Yeah.
My dad once compared America to Canada and the merits of the melting pot idea versus the merits of what he called the tossed salad idea.
I'm sure he was well aware.
I don't think at this point he had any idea he was raising a young gay boy who already knew what a tossed salad was. But, not in practice, just in theory. But, oh no, yes, but that, like, you know, Canada was like a medley of cultures that all retained it, and I get this is the idea of multiculturalism.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, everyone retains their cultural and blah blah, and like America is somehow this melting pot where supposedly that's a race, but like, no, America totally embraces its smaller cultures. Well, it does, America doesn't necessarily, but because of that, the smaller cultures inevitably embrace themselves even stronger. Like,
Yeah. Well,
I'm not saying it's a better
It's
path, but like,
microclimates
yeah.
to a
you
larger
can't tell me
climate.
that they successfully whitewash their culture.
Well, no,
They
no.
try.
Keep in mind that when they created the concept of melting pot, it was supposed to just be a bunch of different kind of white people. So you're making like a general melting pot of white people.
Oh, but again, same as said
it's a
here,
white sauce.
Like, it's so... why do you think there are Ukrainians in Manitoba? It's the same here.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, what
We don't really approve
okay.
of you Ukrainians. You're too far away, but you are the right hue, so you can go out in the flatlands and
No,
live
no.
among the mosquitoes and houses made of sod.
What I mean by that is that post
Sorry, America.
post 1950s-ish America, the cultural mainstream shift has been towards the celebration of the minority culture and themselves celebrating themselves and becoming powerful within American culture and society. And so the melting pot concept has kind of broken down, because it was initially just supposed to be like creating a generic kind of white people.
Mm.
And now it's like, no, American should mean, the same way that Canada should be a post-nationalist concept, or post-modernist nationalism, America should be the same kind of post-nationalist, or modernist nationalism, in which if you say you are American, you should be American, and that buys into this idealistic concept of like fucking Captain America level, awareness of like, no, if I'm going to say I'm American, then that means
This is the
I
belief
believe,
list.
yeah, here's the belief list, and I have to fucking adhere to that,
Mhm.
because I am intentionally trying to be a different and better kind of human, and that has been lost because of all this.
You're not the
social
motherland.
fighting. Yeah,
You are the land.
there is no concept of motherland.
Well, no, people
There
tried
should
to
be.
introduce into
And
that if you're
America
American,
has
you have to
removed
staunchly
that.
believe this
Yeah.
stuff. Terrible ideas.
Yeah,
That's the problem. Is like, Canada, for better or for worse, doesn't have like, you're Canadian and that means you believe this. It has like the hokey, hockey, Tim Hortons commercial
but
version
that
of that.
almost is our where it's just like
It's just like, you're
you're gonna agree with
You're
being
kind of
nice.
apathetic about most things,
It's
but you
the
do
beige.
apologize a lot.
It
You're
is
very
the
nice.
beige.
Yeah.
Well, it's the beige of snow. It's,
But even
it's
that's a
the
cliche,
winter
like-
of reality.
But no, but America
Yeah.
does have a much stronger, like, I'm American, and that means, and like, but yeah, you introduce bad things into that, and it takes root a little too
I think that
deeply and a little too
Reactions can
scarily.
be truly
I think one of the
dangerous.
other struggles that I see America struggling with is, I think, temperature, because literally half of the country
Yeah.
is tropical.
It is a
And half
fascinating
of the
line that
half
just
of
goes
the-
right across.
Half of the country is Nordic.
Yeah.
Well, think about this. Think about Halifax.
How does that work? Like,
No,
that's-
think about
Well, it
Halifax's general.
doesn't work.
This is a bit of a thing, a bit of a theory, but think about Halifax's general crime rate seasonally.
Yeah.
Like in the winter, there's not nearly as much crime
Yeah.
because everyone's half frozen. You're just staying inside to be warm. Like, of course, Florida goes a little nuts some parts of the year. It's like oppressively hot all the time. Like, it's gotta have some consequences, like
But-
socially.
Yeah,
Like,
there's you want to say that the only reason that northern countries end up being mostly like socialist, it's not some kind of weird race thing.
no, we need
it's-
communal heating.
Yeah, it's because you're fucking stuck in a room with someone
Yeah.
for months and you have to
Exactly.
agree to
Exactly.
you have to get along with
Yeah.
that person.
Like Florida, you can encounter people outside where they're doing whatever they feel like, and
Right.
not only that, everyone's hot and they're
You
sticky,
can just leave them alone and
tired.
walk away or whatever and be pissed or whatever.
and they've had a lot to drink, and they might be armed and religiously fervous or otherwise.
Yeah.
So,
Really
interesting
slang place
la-
I've never been.
I
Gotta give it up to Florida. Have never been
Actually,
there.
I've
Sorry
got,
about
I
that,
got a
Florida.
great Florida story, and I told this at the wedding of my cousin. It's on one side I only have one girl cousin, and she's fantastic. And she was getting married in Manitoba a couple of years ago, and I told the story of this time that my family and her family went to Disney World and drove around Florida. And so we're in who the fuck knows where, Florida, and we stop for gas, and it's noonish. So you go in and you get some American nachos and some American hot dogs, and these are things that you've seen on TV, but they don't have in Canada to the same quantity or
aggressiveness.
aggressiveness. The melted cheese isn't the right hue in Canada. There's just things.
It's so authentic.
There are different things, yeah. So we go into the 7-Eleven, and she gets what she gets, and I'm behind her. And keep in mind, at the time, I identify male listeners. So I get up to the counter with whatever I'm getting, and the guy behind the counter goes, "Hey, she's pretty hot, huh?" It's my cousin guy, and he goes, "Even still." It's like, that's Florida.
Can we take a hot minute to
That's Florida.
digress into how many strange men try to just bond with you over being really gross about women when
Yeah.
you're a man?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Holy
Every
shit.
cabbie in this, not every other cabbie in this town. My favorite thing is to call Halifax in summer Nippletown.
Nippletown.
Nippletown, I tell us all the time, because this cabbie was
Yeah.
it was the first hot day, end of May. It finally spiked up a little bit for just a hot minute, and everybody did that very typical Halifax thing. We just went outside and nothing, just strings, floss, a bit of mash, and cabbie the whole time was just I love this weather. Everybody in this country goes outside wearing nothing as soon as it gets even not freezing outside. It's look at this, it's slightly cold, nipples everywhere, Nippletown. I was
Nippletown.
and he's just look at her, and I'm just yeah, look at him, and he's just that's weird, and I'm just fuck off. Are you kidding me?
That's weird.
Are you kidding me? No.
Oh,
And I tell them, yeah, see, apparently my problem is not with objectification, it's with the unequal objectification. Objectify everyone, that's fine. Can I tell you my secret shame about America?
yeah.
I love America.
Oh, Sam, I
I-
actually have like framed paintings of Captain America in my bedroom. That's not a fucking joke.
I
I
have
have
this.
Alex Ross paintings in my bedroom.
I have this weird thing with America where I never went there despite growing up so close to like Maine. I was always just like, why am I going to Maine?
Where did you go?
This is the thing. I married into south of Detroit,
Yeah.
and so I went north to Detroit for my first visit to America, and it was
Go
wonderful.
north to America.
To
loved
America.
Detroit, and it was like,
And then not
it's-
Mexican.
It was like no, it was like the height of its lows. It was like not
Scotch.
the best time, and everybody was just like, you know what, Detroit's a little bit down right now, and I'm like, yeah, I rode past all the closed stops on the monorail and like the empty skyscrapers downtown.
I've seen RoboCop.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
And everyone's just like, but you know what? Doesn't matter. We're working hard. It's gonna be back any minute. And I was like,
Yes,
oh my
it's
god, I love America so much. And it is kind of slowly like it's been
Oh no,
through the
it
apocalypse and
legit
back, but
is. Apparently, it has, and I know that this is actually
I love
also
that
a
about
joke.
America.
It has a great cultural scene at the moment.
I
I know, because that's the truth of America. The second anything actually really turns to shit.
yeah. It explodes
Immediate
with pop
People
culture.
throw
Yeah.
down and work hard.
Yeah, and in 10 years we're all gonna be like,
And they
this
drown out
is the
their
dopest
sorrows
shit.
and, like fun created shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Canada-
I'm so happy he was president because
Yeah.
now we have this.
I'm kind of glad Canada, again, knock on wood, doesn't have to go through like the unstable shit, like the bullshit presidents
Oh
with
my
executive
God.
authority, like
But I'm also kind of jealous
and all the
in
kind
the
of
way
cultural
that
extremism
in the way that you
but-
need to react.
No, you're jealous
Yeah,
in the
you
way
know.
that journalists in Canada are, where we look at it and go, golly, I wish we could do that up here.
oh, this is the journalism show. We should get to that.
Well, there we are now. Because it's true, we look at it and go, oh golly, gee whiz, it
It's
sure
like
would be
fiction,
nice.
but it's you have
Yeah.
to appreciate it from what you're reading as people actually living in that and being
Well,
very
exactly.
distressed, or just living north and being very distressed.
But it's like looking at America and it has these grand legends of like, you know, this president was amazing and then he was shot. He died for America. And when was the last time there was an assassination attempt on a Canadian Prime Minister? Well, that time Stephen Harper hid in the closet. Which is
That's
interesting that Parliament has a closet. There's a closet in the House, the actual room of Parliament. Who the fuck knew? There's a closet!
Pages.
No one's gonna make a John Bird's office joke.
It was only slightly.
This is the America segment, and that won't play here, so it's fine. Never happened.
The America
The
segment.
America segment.
The America segment.
Living here, you are so culturally bombarded by America at all times that it can be very frustrating and at times like just very dulling. You're like, I'm so bored by it. And I remember those days now wistfully. Because now it's not constant America bombardment. I spend a lot of my pop culture and media absorbing time empathizing with Americans because it is constant Trump all the time. Trump reality. This is the Trump reality show. This is Trump, like,
And
Western
you're kind of
Hemisphere.
like emotional
Trump,
support for
Trump,
the
Trump,
Americans.
Trump.
And it's just like,
Orange,
it's
Trump,
okay.
and more Trump.
Outside of your border, life is not as insane.
I currently feel like the supportive sibling.
Yeah. Yeah, you just.
Yeah,
Where you're
it's-
just kind of sitting
that's
there
not
like,
the worst
it's
role
going to be
for us.
okay.
Yeah, and it's
Don't worry.
It's only in another
Don't
6
worry.
years.
yeah,
It'll be okay.
yeah. It's kind of, it's always nice to have an opportunity to bond with another nation. Like, we have a lovely close personal friend who's Dutch who just came back from the Netherlands with the intent of becoming a Canadian down the road, which I'm just like, that is great. That is, I like immigration in general as a theory, but in terms of you bringing more Netherlands here, like, I love the Dutch. And the Dutch, you know what they do back? They kind of like us on a big
Oh
scale.
my
on a
god,
big
the
scale.
Dutch are insane for us.
It's wonderful. It's so lovely.
I love
It's there's if you're gonna like a people, and even more importantly, if you're gonna be liked back by people, you gotta be the Dutch.
Actually,
And
yeah,
you know what? It's
Canadian-
nice.
Yeah,
We
I'm
both
glad.
skate.
I'm glad Americans have their special relationship with the British, but it's like, really, you two went to war, and that's kind of how you go. Oh, right, whatever. Ignore us. We're just here being half of each of you, but no one needs to pay attention to us. Just have your special relationship.
I don't know what
Mom,
you're
Dad,
talking
fuck
about.
you.
I
My
don't-
family was on the homeland during that
Good.
entire...
No.
entire
It's
thing.
nice to
If
it's
you were
nice to be
ca-
back like in a supportive role for America though. It's nice to just be there for America. They didn't need us during the Obama years. We didn't want them and they didn't want us so much because we were just too moralizing and preachy during the Bush years. Even though listening could have been alright.
Ah.
But now it's just like, oh, we're not moralizing and preaching like, 52% probably of you super new, and like many more of you now know. Like it's okay. We're there. Like
Yeah.
we will get through this together. Borders and trade disputes are no borders and trade disputes.
And I have to suspect a lot of the communications between the two countries have stepped from federal to like state and provincial,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
I really like because it tells the people beside one another who's around you.
I
Yeah.
think a lot of that
It's like
is
forcing
It's
the
an
community.
intentional federal program from the Liberals,
Yeah.
but it is brilliant and exactly what is necessary. Here's the thing where people sometimes ask me why do I more or less support the Liberals? I don't actually support any political party, but when it comes down to it, I usually end up being vote Liberal. It's because
not provincial.
no, not provincially, but federally.
Not for provincial.
God, no. But it always comes down to this thing where the Liberals always do stuff like that, where it's that's not only the right choice, but it's the most tactically brilliant choice.
It's
But
smart,
this
not
goes-
hard.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
It's-
smart, not hard.
But this also
And
goes
then I
back to the
respect
general
that in a
theme we
human
had
being.
for this
Yeah.
segment of the episode, though, where we were talking about the things that Trump is strong for, and Trump is legitimately very strong for American-Canadian relationships, not on a governmental
Yeah.
level,
not
but on
some
a personal
weird,
empathy because they live under a madman and they know it now, and
Yeah.
we feel for them still, and we felt for them before.
Every northern mayor and governor and
Oh, yeah.
senator and rep now knows exactly the connections that
Well,
they
he's
have.
about to lose the farming country too, because he's
Yeah.
about to lose the soy farmers, and then you're just
If
you're
you
done.
lose soybean, if you lose
You're out the
soybean,
Midwest a lot of
you're-
that, I presume.
no,
That's a
you can't
lot of
produce.
space.
Look at every label
All
of
that
every
flat growing
of
land.
everything. No, just look at any label of any food product.
Also,
Soybean is the third.
soy farming tends to destroy the ground as well,
Mhm.
so you can't within a very I think it takes 5 years to be able to produce
It's 5 years of
something else.
foul.
Yeah, so you're fucked in a lot of regions for half a decade.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me that soy-eating, gluten-phobic granola types that are all about the environment and sustainability and doing the right thing
Yeah, soy
are using land in the most aggressive
really-
way possible and being short-sighted?
I,
Is that a thing that this contingent of people
allow
could
me
do?
to go one level
Could
even
they?
deeper.
It's also the most genetically altered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
soy is an insult that is used against cucks by the right wing.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Because soy tends to stimulate estrogen.
Look, Wallace Shawn me.
So, I, as a transgender person, am saying soy, which creates estrogen in your system, is a bad thing because of the ecological disaster it creates in any given geological area.
But, okay, but,
Geographical area. Fuck!
selfishly, are you not pro yourself eating soy?
Yeah.
Thanks, human condition. There we go. Oh, man. But no, Trump is being very good for Canadian-American relations. That's one thing. But
It's been even better for Mexican-Canadian relations.
Oh, yeah, we're aware that Mexico exists again.
Like we're just like,
Did you remember Beyond Holidays?
No.
No, like Holidays and Bad Headlines?
No, I know exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea that Mexico was still there beyond Holidays and Bad Headlines.
See,
I'm aware now. I like Mexico, and I feel for them because, things about NAFTA and shit. But,
That said, I've actually been to Mexico, and Mexico is a fantastic place.
is it the Detroit of South of America?
It's complicated, because...
It's very
It's
celebration.
enjoyable, but it's
Well,
complicated.
that's the thing, we went...
But everyone's an optimistic believer.
We went on one of those bus tours that, goes to an
Probably.
impoverished area, and you know that it's set up, these people are not impoverished because they get a cut of the
No
amount
deal.
of money that is paid to go on this trip, and they're kind of in an area that is intentionally made to look like it's
quintessential.
yeah, yeah. So it's it's poverty porn, but it's not actually. It's a combination of cultural performance and poverty porn.
So Nova Scotia.
But intentionally.
Okay.
Imagine if they set up a trailer park.
people on
intentionally.
the South Shore and Southwesters pretending to be fishermen for tourists. That's
Yeah,
exactly what I think.
kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Plastic
or like,
culture.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
like
it's plastic culture.
any trailer park trying to evoke trailer
But
park
an
noise.
intentional trailer park instead of
Does that exist?
it must.
You know where it must?
Bubbles?
There's a little trailer park that
Bubbles
has 3
was
streets.
one,
It has
yeah.
this, that, and the other street.
This,
It
that,
has
and the
this
other.
street, that street, and the other street.
That's
That's what it needs to be. That's an economic miracle waiting to
An
happen.
ex-girlfriend of mine actually got a cat on the other street.
Yes.
I know that place.
Of
very
course
well.
you do, because we live in the smallest place in the universe.
Yeah.
But back to the largest place in the universe. What else has Donald Trump been good for? He's been good for media. Anyone who's denying he's been good for comedy is
it's
insane.
fantastic for media.
He's been
fantastic
stress
for
testing the
media,
system.
comedy.
He has been
it's a
stress
Like
testing.
he's actually taken the justice, every system within the government. He's fucked up, fucked with, moved, shifted, and addressed. People had to address issues that they didn't think they had to.
I think the most salient failure on a grand scale of this stress test has been the Republican Party. Like, it has
John
to be.
McCain really is not going to come out of this. Like, he could have had a great legacy if he essentially quit before and said, "I'm powerless." But because he's there and
He's pretending to be against parts of it.
Yeah, but he doesn't act.
No.
And he is a man of action, and so when he doesn't act, that's the truth of any belief he has. When he doesn't do shit, that's when you know that it's like, no, you don't actually care.
It's so short-sighted. From, I know Canadians this is our national pastime, and it's, I'm sure, incredibly frustrating for our neighbors that we sit around watching them and judging them all the time. We're the worst keeping up
they
with
love
the
it.
No, we're the worst keeping up with the Joneses ever, and we're very moralizing, and we're...
But they love to be watched.
They love to be watched, they don't love to be judged, and we do a lot of
Well,
judging.
then don't put yourself in
But
the
you know
window.
what? But you know what? We are watching you
yeah, but
from afar.
that
We
is-
have we have the benefit of a little bit of distance
Yeah.
culturally,
Yeah.
and looking at it from where we do, it's all insane. The stress tests are not a good idea, although I'm proud of some of your institutions for passing them. The Republicans have failed on such a measure that they should just be abolished as a party at the next available opportunity.
Oh, no.
Along with the Electoral College.
No. I
that
will
has to go as
personally
well.
go a little bit further. I personally believe that the Republican Party should be recoded. But that's just what I think.
Most Republicans, I don't know if I would support most
Stop
Republicans
shooting.
being in any sort of criminal trouble at the moment. But they definitely don't deserve any support of social support ever. They should deserve nothing but shame.
Yeah. That's a fair
The
point.
leader of your country is clearly bought, paid for, and also stupid.
Yeah.
And you
I
just
think,
are
I think,
enabling on a grand scale?
I
I
think
realize I'm
calling
not
him
saying anything
stupid-
new. It's just from a Canadian perspective, utterly
What
baffling.
is-
I
What
think
is
you're
his
calling
intelligence?
Him, I think you're calling him stupid in
Utterly
the fact that his tested intelligence could be lower than other people in his position.
No, I'm calling him
Wait, no,
short-sighted
let me
because he's
finish.
gaining a bunch
Let
of money for
me
himself while
finish.
destroying his country.
I think his emotional intelligence might be higher
There is
than
a
other political
power there that
people.
is
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm not
And
denying that at all.
and I think that is something that America has been looking for.
After
is-
Obama, you want emotional intelligence.
No, I'm not. I'm saying he was everything.
White America wants emotional intelligence, not...
Obama was trying to be everything
Nah,
with
you can't blame
no
all.
problems
Yeah.
as well. That's not sustainable.
Came back
No,
from the recession.
but he had to be Jesus.
Yeah.
He did, and I disagree
He
with
had
him
to be
for a lot of
Jesus,
his
and
mandate,
he
but in the
was.
end he wasn't that bad.
He had to be Jesus, and a lot of Americans don't believe Jesus was black. So...
Bitch, please.
There's your problem.
Jesus wasn't black, but he looked suspiciously like a fertility doctor from Ottawa.
Ha! I think Jesus was probably brown, at the very least.
Jesus was definitely black.
Maybe
Cleopatra,
beige.
Cleopatra was white, though. That bitch was Egyptian and inbred. Oh, that's a full, we came around all the way.
That's
Okay.
got to end the America segment.
Yeah,
that
that-
bitch was
that-
Egyptian and inbred.
That bitch was Egyptian and inbred. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So we forgot to introduce the special guest from our last segment because he was just here. Not that we shoot at the same time of our other podcast. The nameless one where we're requested to hush our mouths. Available on hushyourface.com.biz.edu. But that was my husband, Brent Robertson, who was our guest panelist on the America segment.
So I think it's less I forgot and more you're in shit.
Oh, no, are you kidding me? He absolutely tore me down on the segment and then sassed himself out of the room and shut the door. He's fine, we're fine. But I like to think the reason we had him on the America segment was he likes to think that he's having the immigrant experience because he's from Ontario and now lives in Nova Scotia, but also because his parents are both first-generation Scottish immigrants. So I like to think he's kind of got the immigrant perspective in his own way. Which is good for America, because most white Americans, I like to think, feel somehow they have the immigrant experience since the colonists arrived. But, you know.
Been through so much.
But he also grew up. He also grew up south of America, which I enjoy.
In this really weird spit of of Ontario that goes under bits
under
of America.
He likes to call it under America's armpit, and it is just squeezed right tucked up in there, south of Detroit.
Yep.
It's in Windsor, and that's the most I have to say about Windsor.
Windsor, I am told, has many Wendy's. That is all I have ever learned about Windsor. It has many Wendy's.
My sister-in-law, who is my favorite woman from Windsor.
Yeah.
You get one guess what her name is.
Oh God.
Hi, Wendy. So this is the personal experience in media segment, I suppose.
Yeah, so we were originally going to talk about meeting famous people because I've had the luck of interviewing a few famous people.
I've been mad at you once, and we're going to touch on that now.
Yeah, well, to be fair, that didn't even pan out. So
I love that you have no doubt what I'm talking about.
You can be mad at me, but I'm pissed at myself too.
I'm mad at the universe.
Yeah, but I've gotten the chance to interview quite a few relatively famous people. I'm really trying not to fuck and name drop here, but like,
don't do it.
Yeah. So Henry Rollins, Andrew C.K. Oh my God.
You're not allowed to tell me anything bad about Andrew C.K.
No, he's fantastic. Like
Andrew. No, that's wrong.
No, Andrew C.K. as in like party.
Yes.
Yeah,
as in telling the weather all the time.
Yes.
What? Are you unaware?
What?
Keep talking. We're gonna make this happen.
What?
No, I'm thinking someone else. I think you are too, but I think we have the name wrong.
Andrew C. Or
it's W.K. It's Andrew
W.K. Oh
you
my
don't know
God.
about Andrew W.K.'s we got his name wrong. I'm sorry, you're beautiful, Andrew
No,
W.K.
I apologize because I know he follows me on Twitter. I am sorry,
You
Andrew W.K.
This is worse. I just dream about him, but you follow him on Twitter.
I'm
You guys
so
name
sorry.
wrong too. Yeah, and you don't know about his meteorological career.
I didn't know it all.
Yes.
Oh my God!
You may be more well-read, but you didn't know about Andrew W.K. the weatherman.
Look at it!
Accurate, dependable, Andrew W.K. weather.
Andrew W.K. joining us here with the weather. Hello, everybody. As you can see, it's a beautiful, clear sky. You got one building here, you got another building here. Now, both of these buildings are going to remain there throughout the day, okay? And we can take a look now at the temperature forecast. You got 71 up in Ponca City, you got 72 in Bartlesville, and you got 71 in Coleyville. Now, what's going to happen around the rest of the area is a basic 70s realm. You have large gray clouds scooping down.
Alright, we should just... It's so engrossing we can't talk over this.
No, for those unaware, Andrew W.K. is this really great rock, kind of punk rock singer, kind of metal light, who always dresses in white.
We got Sex God.
Yeah, Sex God.
Thank you.
But his general concept is that life should be a party. And we're not talking about just like this really shallow thing of like, oh yeah, partying's fun. No, we're talking about like religious level bacchanalia of like a man who writes opinion pieces for the Village Voice where he answers people who are in desperate situations about like, you know, their life problems and goes, chill, party.
He's like, the Adore Delano of not Adore Delano.
The man is Bill and Ted personified. where it's just like, well, have you tried
That's
being
sad.
excellent to each other?
That's what he said.
So
I can't believe you didn't know he was also a weatherman.
I did not know that. That was amazing, and now I'm kind
So
of
wait a
pissed
minute,
that
what's
you
your
never asked.
connection to
I got
Andrew WK?
I got to
Not
interview
Andrew
him.
CK,
Or Andrew WK, yeah, not Andrew.
Sorry.
Maybe had a little lamb.
I had a little bit to drink.
Fuck. So Andrew WK, I interviewed him because he came into a performance in Halifax, and he's just the nicest fucking guy ever.
Yeah.
And he ended up following me on Twitter. I follow him on Twitter. I've got to talk to and followed and mutual follow on Twitter. Oh my God, Boy George. A couple of Canadian celebrities that most people won't recognize because unfortunately Match Game is no longer on the air.
Ew. I mean,
Oh, no,
Darren
they
Sarah.
were great. Yeah, Darren and Darren Rose and she's the larger lady and she's fantastic.
Deborah DiGiovanni.
Deborah DiGiovanni.
I like Deborah DiGiovanni.
Oh, I love her. I'm really sad that show not only got canceled, but the copyright was purchased by some American company, and they've made some horseshit version of it.
The one with RuPaul on it?
Yeah.
You want it?
I mean, relative to the Canadian
take
one
you
that
there.
was kind of like
That was
wonderfully cheap
terrible.
and chaotic, it was wonderfully
Yeah, it
terrible
was terrible.
because it was like
It was
chaos.
okay, yeah.
It was like,
It was
this is
watchable
gonna
terrible.
fall the fuck apart.
It was definitely watchable terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to intentionally watch it just being like, I hope you all break, fall apart.
I have, like, no famous reporting people stories whatsoever. All local politicians of
Yeah,
every stripe
Every
ever.
damn local politician.
Oh my God. Most of the local media types through like contact, if not, otherwise like direct coverage. Hopefully never, but some people report the weather and have the audacity to be ladies who wear necklaces. But no, fuck! I work the hospitality business in this town. This is a tourist town. You meet everybody twice.
Yeah.
And back when we had movie production in this burg, you met everybody 3 times.
Well, there's the thing. You're missing out on Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson.
I am not. I have actually helped wash bottles for Willem Dafoe.
Help me wash these bottles. Okay, Willem Dafoe.
It wasn't directly for Willem Dafoe, but I was like basically 2 Kevin Bacons away at most.
Sorry, I'm just picturing him with giving these wild-eyed looks, being like, the bottles have to be clean.
That's what living in Nova Scotia is like, though, and I feel like this is a weird hybrid part of like this show and our pop culture show. Is like Nova Scotia is Hollywood shorthand for middle of nowhere, and it is also a place where tons of shit gets filmed. So you inevitably end up meeting everybody in some capacity.
Like Ethan Hawke. I have been within 2 minutes of Ethan Hawke because people are like, "Oh, Ethan Hawke was just here." Yeah, okay. Training Day was great. It's weird that he's decided to like hunker down in the middle of Nova Scotia and be like, "Fuck Hollywood, I now live here."
Oh no, direct observation, most star power, Kanye West.
Kanye.
Small, lovely mom, Donda at
Yeah.
the time. May she rest in peace, I believe. Very nice to talk to her directly, but yes, he was above all that, despite being below all that. But direct personal contact with the lovely and talented RuPaul available on iTunes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna dance through the lobby and your life. Yep. Nope. I wish that I had those journalism experiences because I always wanted to like ask these people questions, and at best when I had moments with like a number of people who were known on a larger scale, I was never like, oh, fawning, or like worse, oh, unprepared. I was like, I really want to know about this thing. And you got, and then unfortunately didn't, and therefore I can't be too mad at you, but for a time, prospectively got an interview with Scott Thompson.
So
Scott
close.
Thompson!
And it just didn't work out his timing, and oh my God, no.
You know, one thing I would have never said in my life after an interaction with Scott Thompson is it never worked out. I would never have allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
Not to blame you, but it just wouldn't have happened.
Oh no, I remain good and pissed at that. Like, I almost had a chance to meet a couple of really, really interesting comedians. I love interviewing comedians. Musicians usually have no fucking clue what they're gonna say, and they're trying to like have this air of cool so they don't want to say anything. Actors think that you're trying to get something from them. Comedians, all you have to do is set them off and you just have hours of content. They're fantastic. One of my most enjoyable interviews was going back and forth from Kenny and Spenny. Because for Canadians who grew up in the 2000s, watching Kenny and Spenny, Kenny versus Spenny, was like, it was one of those things that everyone kind of did. And it's not that it was great television, it's not that it was memorable, it was just one of these things of like, it's nice to have something that is Canadian and stupid. Like, truly stupid.
Why
Jackass level stupid.
But Scott Thompson, like that's what Kids in the Hall was. Like I don't remember Kenny versus Spenny because I was
No. Kids in the Hall was intentional satire. Kenny versus
There
Spenny,
was a lot of intentional stupid.
Yes, but Kenny versus Spenny is more like
Tom Green also.
oh,
Nothing but
I
intentional
am
stupid.
one connection away from Tom Green, and he apparently is, when he's not playing, he's so brilliant that's like, oh, you were just being entirely satirical and no one got it at the time.
Where is he now?
He's not doing anything except collecting royalties on Freddy Got Fingered.
That's all you gotta do.
Which has become a cult classic that is constantly being reworked by reviewers now as a piece of postmodern art on the same level as like art pieces. Oh, shit, I'm like ce n'est pas un cigar or whatever the hell, un pipe. Ce n'est pas un pipe. It's a piece of art in which it's just a picture of a pipe, and above it says, "This is not a pipe." It's Dada. And I'm not being sarcastic. People are defending Tom Green, and legitimately as Dada.
I love that it has that much like depth and layers to it.
Because when you start actually reading his stuff and looking into the references and the way he plays with things, it's like, oh my god, you were intentionally sending up crude comedy by being so crude, but using every single concept that they use and every layer and everything is just set up as like, oh, you think that's funny? You think fucking a pie is funny? I'm going to climb inside a dead deer carcass. It's the same joke.
Just taken to its not so logical extreme.
Exactly.
So what is your 1 degree of separation? Why did you not interview Tom
I
Green?
get maybe it's two. I could have interviewed him if I really pestered a family friend, and a family friend who is related to him. So it's like
That's always hard.
I don't want to do that.
That's always hard.
What was the other one? Dylan Morse, the comedian from Black Books. I really wanted to interview him because I love Black Books. A fantastic English series about a drunk who owns a bookshop.
How have I never seen it?
I can't
I watch
even
way too
describe
much
it
British
beyond that.
television.
Just Black Books. You'll love it.
Okay.
It has 3 characters. That's it, in a bookshop.
You got a lot more of the like larger culture interview things.
I can't help it.
I was much newer and briefer on the scene, and I got way more of the like go talk with like
Yeah. Go do it.
go talk with Joanne everybody, and like some of those were amazing.
I want to say, I think it's because at some point I made it clear that it's like, no, I want to do these, and I'm going to do these, and I'm kind of using you as an excuse to do these.
Oh no, that was very smart. And there were a lot of people I really wanted to talk to, but like I admit, most of the people I wanted to talk to were not in the pop culture sphere of things. Like, no, I was way more into interviewing, like, not even necessarily local politicians. Like, I was really irritated that I could never get like any time with like anyone on a larger scale when I came to town. Like it was, although the Trudeau Fest did not endear anyone to want to get close to it. What a ridiculous spectacle. I have never seen such a look of hands clasped, blissful-eyed, neck forward. Oh my god, that's the only noise possible. It's like when people see the Queen.
And the funny thing
Which I also don't get.
Yeah.
But Oh my god.
The funny thing is,
I would love to like be able to ask questions, and there wasn't ever. No, so many political events were just like this weird combination of like, oh, off the record schmooze for 5 seconds, and then like, oh no, but I don't feel like answering the questions.
which is so different from my great experience with that because he wasn't prime minister or even liberal leader yet. He was running for the Liberals, and so it was literally a 45-minute question and answer session with just a scrum of journalists, and I am standing 3 feet directly in front of him for 45 minutes, just being like studying his character and like how you respond to things, how you look at things. Oh my god!
People who are running and who have not yet attained a position of power are the most fun people to talk to on the record.
Every time.
Fantastic. They just need to be talked about. They just need to be covered. And you are just there to cover them. And all they need to do for you to do that is to say something interesting.
Yeah. And the second they get any kind of responsibility, you are gone from their life.
Yep. Oh, it's true.
Yeah.
No, it's absolutely
You are
true.
now a liability instead of an asset. Congratulations.
It's delightful when that becomes, through general electoral misfortune, kind of that's something that the public becomes aware of. For example, when somebody loses as a local elected official in Manton, loses their position of power, and unfortunately still decides to give a media interview at that point.
Yeah.
And blames
Oh my God.
the interviewer, the media, the voters, the party, the leader.
Yeah.
God,
Literally
probably the
everyone else.
the makeup of the riding boundaries themselves, the makeup of the general electorate. This is not
British
no, this-
Empire that said
Oh,
about
man,
the
I know.
Confederation itself.
a series of unfortunate events dating back to the beginnings of our Judeo-Christian heritage. Lord knows.
It all went downhill from Caesar getting stabbed.
That's not when you give the interview. That's not. Why would you? Why would you? If you lose political office, why would you give your interview? I believe it was the next day.
Yeah.
I believe it was. It was very soon after. the
Some
election.
people don't understand the importance of control of emotionality on screen, because you can, like, some people think, oh, I'll kind
They'll
of
use
come
that
off.
clip against both of us when we inevitably blow
Oh,
ourselves up on this
I am
show.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. But like, there's a difference between like John Kennedy saluting his father and Jackie having a tear, and then like Bud Dwyer level ranting and then blowing your head off.
Mm-hmm.
It just
Yeah.
don't.
No. There's a time where all you have to do is like, just get your photo in the paper, get a word in,
Yeah.
and just that's the sedate and measured coverage that you get the day after your defeat and/or trauma. You don't give an at-length ranging, slightly deranging interview.
Yeah, like here's the best advice you'll ever get from some former journalist. Never say a goddamn thing. Anything.
Oh, I think that's too broad.
No, I mean, like, even if you say no comment, we are making judgments. If you don't say anything, that's the most, like, we're completely without any kind of ammunition at that point. We can give you facts, but if you don't respond, it's up to other people to hold you responsible. We are suddenly completely without power.
I don't know that that's entirely true. Because I think if
I
everyone
might be being
else,
cynical.
I think if a few people immediately close to you are on the record, then you can have some serious trouble.
Well, yeah.
If you have one or two people that you cannot possibly just denounce, just say anything on the record, then that you can have serious trouble. That's
But
when
that
you have to
feels
say something.
more like really specific. Like, if
I
you
don't know
sexually
with that.
assaulted someone, I mean, like, in the 95% to 99% of like normal horse shit that politicians are asked about. And I'm not suggesting this because this is really, really, really anti-democratic. But seriously, they could cut the legs off so much content by just like ignoring, just being like, yeah.
That was absolutely the mandate of the communications department.
Oh God, they were so good at it too.
They were excellent at it.
Actually,
There
no,
was-
there was
there-
one communications department that was better at it. It's the Sydney Police. because
There
I
were a couple.
never got
There
them
were
to
a couple.
respond to me.
Oh, like better in that way.
Ever.
I thought you meant better in the way of actually being cooperative. Because
Oh,
there were a
no,
few of
no,
those
I mean, like,
who I actually
they
won't name
truly
drop
meant-
ever because no, I want them to do okay at their jobs because they were occasionally just genuinely
Yeah.
providing public information helpful.
There's one municipal officer who we owe a lot to, and we won't name drop because we don't want them to get into any kind of whatever. But
Despite it being a really enjoyable name.
we owe so much to them, and it was always fun to call them because of that name.
So good. Good times. No, there were some police departments especially that just like, yeah, not the time of day, not ever. And that did
Yeah.
make things a lot harder, you're right. No, but...
And it's also a thing that the certain person in charge didn't understand, that it made things harder because of their perspective, in which things being harder just means that you're right. And it's like, yeah, but things being harder sometimes means that you've been an asshole in different circumstances.
But it doesn't take
Now
a
I can't
strong
do my
person.
work.
It doesn't take a strong person to ignore someone's questions for the public record. It doesn't. It's an easy thing to do.
No, it's very easy.
What it takes a lot of strength to do is to not comment in any way or even call back or do anything after a story about you in which you refused comment has ran. And that seems to be the hardest thing for so many people to do is you run a story, go, here's the assemblage of facts and the direct quotes from people in the social circle of this person corroborating that this is apparently what allegedly happened. And yet this person we, have tried multiple times to contact, they are very wisely just lying rather low at the moment.
Yeah, might I suggest, if you end up in a story, any
We
story...
will stay tuned in the future.
Do
But that's it for
not-
now.
do
And
not-
then the next week you get
Yeah.
you get
Oh
the
my
3 a.m. voicemail.
I'm gonna fucking kill you. Okay, great. Thank you. I have your number. I know where you live. I can send it all to the police.
Oh man.
Why would you do that? Or the guy that called up, this was before your time, and said he was gonna beat our heads in with a baseball bat. Or the other thing, before your time, when the security doors got locked, and we had a little remote alert thing that if we pressed the button, because the Hells Angels were coming, I'm not kidding, because the Hells Angels were coming, you press the button, and SWAT arrives.
I feel like so much of all of those stories exist because you're right, because somebody commented. All it really does take is just to not acknowledge. It's like it's like my general life advice that you should avoid Twitter and all other forms of social media except ones that link to this show. If you disengage from it, you do rob something of its power a lot, and that goes for the media. A lot of stories would lose a lot of color or even just merit at all if the central characters just did not want to play ball. And that unfortunately has a very negative effect, where something can be happening in your community that needs to get out there. Yeah. Something that is just not a right story to be kept private.
But Trump would be powerless if people had simply, not engaged him, and he...
Well, that's what I'm saying in terms of
engage people right now.
But that's what I'm saying but not as a negative, like as more of a proactive. If people actually come out and go on the record and say, hey, people are being hurt in our community and this is actually happening. But you get so much, especially in this part of the world, this was talking to regular people, calling up regular people who are in dire circumstances and saying, hey, things are shit for you right now. This person is causing malicious damage to you, and occasionally, some people even in worse trouble than you.
Yeah.
Do you want to address this in any way that will actually make this person be called to account? No, I do not. And I understand that, and I understand that we're sitting here giving the advice that you should disengage in a lot of circumstances.
But there are other...
But there's got to be a slight obligation to engage on some level.
Yeah, the victims should always engage, because that's how you end up getting justice. If you are trying to actually avoid... If you have done something wrong... I'm sorry, this is a completely illegal thing to, or an immoral thing to say, but if you have done something wrong, shut your fucking mouth. That's the actual answer, is just shut your mouth.
You and I have posited...
You will get further.
You and I have kind of thought aloud.
I'm trying to find that memory stick so I can save this thing.
You and I have kind of fantasized aloud about forming what I would think of as like an Olivia Pope-style organization, where we just give advice to people who are in shitty public circumstances.
Oh, I have not I have looked up the regulations of how we are going to eventually do that. We are going to be headhunters for your secrets, and then we'll.
I feel like anyone who presents themselves as this
Yeah.
should definitely like beware the hand of fate. But that's why knocking on wood and being Irish exists. But like people do some silly things when the spotlight is on them, and all they need is someone who has any idea what goes with the territory in the slightest way.
Yeah.
Just calmly holding their hand and saying, "Don't
You don't wanna do
actually
that.
pick up the phone, call, and say all those expletives you just said to me because they will be recording you, and that's absolutely legal, and then they'll quote you word for word because that's actually what you said."
Yeah. The answer is delete the thing that you did, never comment on it, and then produce something else to take spotlight away. Like, oh, suddenly I found money for this community funding. Or, oh, I'm helping this one person do this one thing that's really important and will gain lots of sympathy.
It's almost like applying a bad, downward bump in the ratings in TV shows or
Yep.
something like that to yourself, or a dip in approval ratings if you're a politician to yourself. Like, yes, you have the attention on you. Yes, it is a negative attention. However, the attention is on you. So pivot,
Yeah.
damn it.
Pivot hard.
Pivot
And
hard,
it's
and that
real
means
simple.
never acknowledging what made you spin off in the other direction.
Yeah, because if you never acknowledge it, it will go away. And that's the weirdest thing about this is you'll always have one or two people who will be like, but what about this? But it's not that there is a voice saying you're doing a bad thing. You're trying to avoid that becoming the majority. And if you can simply ignore it, a lot of people will too. Because if you suddenly become excited about it, then that immediately implies, not necessarily proves, but implies that it's fucking true. It's entirely true. Everything is true.
There's a horrifying amount of judgment by the public gallery, especially for all our public efforts to the contrary. Maritimers, God bless us, we are the most judgmental.
Mm-hmm.
We'll absolutely wring you out.
We have nothing else to do.
Socially, we have nothing else to do. And it's funny, there's very few ways to mitigate that judgment, but the few ways there are pretty, sensible and just reasonable and easy to do. Like, shut your goddamn mouth.
Yeah, like, shut your goddamn mouth.
And just, wow, nope, for the betterment of fodder of all kinds of publications in this part of the world and others, people, nope.
No, they will
cannot
talk
resist answering a question sometimes.
forever. And sometimes you'll call up and get no comment, and then 5 minutes later they'll call you and they will tell you everything under the sun. Sometimes they want some kind of a deal, which is always simple to say. And here's the funniest thing, and actually Trevor Adams of Halifax Magazine noted it. If you simply say, and this is completely journalistically ethical, if you simply say at the beginning of the interview, this is on the record, it acts as this weird kind of thing in which people don't understand, they understand the opposite. They start telling you things, and then they get upset that you reported it.
There was
nothing
weirder than someone halfway through an elaborate confession of nonsense and just unbelievable stuff, suddenly saying, "But I don't want to talk about this and have it reported in the press."
It's like, you didn't fucking say shit about that
At
before
which
you told
point,
me.
At which point you can be found upon all kinds of recordings laughing aloud,
Yeah,
saying,
usually.
"Do you not recall the point where I said this is on the record?" And more importantly, you called a news outlet
Yeah.
to have this conversation.
Tell
This is not therapy. I am not a bartender.
I am not your priest.
No,
I will send you to hell.
The other people who shouldn't talk to the press, people who constantly call the press with tips that are not only not useful for any reporter of any stripe, but difficult to follow, and more importantly, difficult to disengage from via the telephone. There are some people you just can't hang up on because your natural curiosity stops you from hanging up mid-word, and they just don't stop
Saying increasingly insane.
throwing them at you.
We're not going to identify, but we both know exactly who we're talking about. And for an example of the kind of things that they would call to rant about, once a month more or less, there are gay people in retirement homes. There are gay, and they're trying to turn the other retirees gay.
Oh, man.
Because that's the last thing you want to do before you die. You want to get that last straight.
Getting those phone calls was wonderful. In person, I don't come across nearly as, like, virile and heterosexual as I'm sure I do by audio alone. But, like, no, seriously, you couldn't hear the guy over the phone? I get it, you're of a certain age, but also, it was the taxi driver appreciating, like, way too many misogynist comments brought to an elderly level where someone just was like, well, the gays are a thing in this day and age, and clearly you as a sensible person will disagree with that. And I'm like, no, sir, nor do my husband. But I would, of course, never say that because it's so much more fun to just go, and listen, because there might be a diamond in the rough.
Actually, I think we have to end this on a different, more contemporary note of, you have been accused recently of being a skirt chaser.
Are we gonna go there?
Oh, we are, because that was
Man.
hilarious.
Oh, talk about a valuable personal experience in any industry. I recently got accused of ignoring someone in a business context because I was clearly far too focused on the young female that I was also engaged with in this business context. And the best part is it was just me talking to someone first.
Yeah.
And not
Literally,
including
that
in
was all.
someone else
They
to
came in
come in.
first, therefore you talked
Because
to
the
them first.
conversation I was having was rather engaging.
Yeah.
But the utter most amazing part of this is, to me,
Offense.
is the sincere offense, but more importantly, the sincere assurance to the point where they contacted my boss
Mm-hmm.
to just rail about this. And my boss at the time struggled to contain his laughter at this, and then made sure to tell me, and then made sure that I told my husband
Yeah.
just what I'd been up to in the workplace. See, this is it. Just to go full circle for a second, we
Yeah.
wanted to talk and then we couldn't talk about famous people we've talked to because we both had weird famous people experiences, but they've not been in the industry that we talk about in
Yeah.
the show. They've been extraneous because of where we live. So the most fun part to me has always been talking to the local people because they're just, they're all batshit. They're wonderful.
They're wonderful.
They're
and
wonderful and
insane.
they're insane.
And wonderful and insane.
It's
The perspective is just so wonderfully narrow that, yeah,
no wonder
that
so many
matters
people from the
suddenly.
world at large come here. No wonder it's like Hollywood shorthand for anything, or like
it really does. It
a setting for
shortens
anything
it
at all.
so wonderfully. So
it's
like,
so bizarre.
this,
You
like,
come here and you go,
tiny
yeah,
little
I
world.
could act that on screen because that shit is shenaniganery.
Yeah.
That's nonsense.
Yeah.
That's not something I would sit down in a cafe and ever write because no one wants that.
You
That's something an ancillary character would do against any writer's will.
No one in Nova Scotia experiences that feeling of, gosh, I wish it was the good old days. Because shit is still as fucking simplistic here.
And it's never been better. It's just always getting better, but it's been, like, historically,
Yeah.
horrifying.
Yeah. Oh, you mean
Oh
the
my
good old
God.
days when we were so poor? Oh, okay.
Or
yeah.
how about the other good old days when we were also desperately poor?
Yeah. How about the good old days when we were desperately poor and had slavery, but were too poor to own slaves ourselves, so we were saddled with this evil concept that we couldn't even engage in.
My favorite part is actually a tie, one of which was where there were two people here and we were both so poor. There were more than two, but of the two that were still pretending to be in charge, we threw the poorer half out.
Yeah.
And, just, like, out occasionally at sea. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other part was when, the central population core of here blew up.
Oh yes, yes. And then
Our magnanimous history.
there's the time that we sent a good group of them to Sierra Leone and completely fucked off. There's the time we sent them to Louisiana and completely fucked off.
Yep.
There's the time, the city blew up.
Yep.
There's the time there was the riot, a full-on 3-day city riot because...
Over alcohol.
Yeah, because there wasn't enough booze to celebrate killing Germans.
Yep.
Yep.
I don't think anything else interesting has ever happened here, so we've gone full circle back
That's
to
about it.
segment 1.
Yeah.
Alright.
Which is a great time to end it. Thank you for listening to The Industry is Doom. You can contact us at industryisdoom@gmail.com.
You know how to address us.
Hey tranny, hey faggot.
That's us.
You can contact
Or hey
us.
guest
Or
hey guest
hey
husband.
guest husband.
There we go.
Guest husband. That has to be the way to contact them. We are available on Twitter at Industry is Doomed. You can find us on iTunes, Audio Boom. You obviously have.
You can fund us on Patreon.
You can fund us on Patreon. We are under HereEgo. I'm definitely going to change that to something different. Because
something that reflects this show and our other podcast, which cannot be mentioned by name because we cannot remember it exactly.
Please doing the thing of being the quiet.
Shut thy mouth, hey there, boy. I think it would be really funny if Scrooge, instead of, you there, boy, what day is this, was like, despite his class-based horror show personality, he was really socially forward and forward-thinking about gender roles. And you there, urchin, what day is this? Urchin is purely about class. It does not imply gender at all.
Yeah.
Way to go, Scrooge.
They. Why do you keep saying they? Because I don't want to offend them. But you won't pay them a living wage. Yeah, that doesn't mean I'm not going to try to, like, acknowledge their personhood.
See, that's like a red Tory. It's only fiscally offensive.